Hello folks, welcome to Fishing Live. You join me tonight at Monk Hall Fishery, not too far from Bridgnorth in Shropshire. I'm having a cheeky little evening session. I've just caught quite a few fish fishing in the deeper water, or a deeper margin to my left. But I've just seen a few backs out down this edge to my right where there's shallow water. And to be honest folks, when you can see the fish and catch them, it's the best kind of commercial fishing for me. So what I thought I'd do is just talk you through a little approach I've sort of developed over the last few months really for catching these bigger fish in in shallow edges where they come in and you can see them. So I've got a heavy hook bait on, that's the first thing. It's a Fuka FATBOY in 10mm, and they really are, if you pick one up, you know, they're quite substantial, and that's key to my approach because they sink. And I've mounted that on a size 14. It's a Guru LWG hook to 0.17. It's only a short little hook length, only 3 inches, but a nice bulk of number 8 stots above that. The main line's 0.19, and then I've got a 0.4 gram RW muddy float above that, a couple of number 8 back shots above it. But the idea is, I've got a heavy hook bait that's going to actually sink the float if I drop it down the slope, and then I'm going to pull it back up the slope so it's sat on the bottom. And once I know that hook bait sat on the shelf, I'm going to feed my bait just behind it. So it's all really nice and tight really. I'm not spreading bait everywhere, I'm feeding quite minimally. I'm getting the fish where I want them, but crucially, keep my bait pinned down to the bottom. I'm not going to foul hook anything. It is a little bit frustrating because you can often see the fish feed. I can see a big mirror now around the float, but when it actually goes under, there will be a fish in the mouth on, and sometimes with this they even pull your elastic out. I've had that a couple of times because the rig is so positive. It's pinning the bait to the bottom, you've got back shots above it, everything's tight, so when the fish pick it up it can't help but hook itself. Onto what I'm feeding, and I've actually got some micros and fishery 6mm pellets that I've coated in some new Fuka. Oh, that was a lovely fast bite, but probably shouldn't have struck at that. Just going to check that the hook point's still showing. It's really important you do that because you do need to prick the fish when they come in. And I'm not actually going to feed because I'm happy enough that there's enough fish, believe it or not, come into that small pot of bait I just put in. I mean, I say a small pot of bait. It's actually a large Guru cad pot, but it is only a pole mounted pot. It's not a big feeding pot or anything like that. And I think you can see if you look at the photo. Oh, there we are, that one's on. You can see just how many fish are in. And the beauty of this, as I said, it's all nice and positive. I've got 100% confidence that fish is going to be in the mouth, and it is. It's such a positive rig. So yeah, I've covered the feed pellets today in Sensate Liquid, which is a new product that Fuka's just launched. I really like the idea of this because basically it gives, oh that's a lovely F1, gives them a totally unique flavour. I mean, if you're in a match, it's all about finding the little advantages. That's what we try and do. And nobody else's feed pellets are going to get that lovely F1 and hooked right squarely in the bottom lip. So that's what it's all about. Yeah, so nobody else's pellets are going to smell of Sensate, so it gives you an edge. And well, they've been lapping them up here on this session, so proof's in the pudding really, folks. So a Fuka FATBOY on the hook, nice and heavy. Filling the pot up with, I'm just going to feed 6mm fishery feed pellets this time. As I said, if I thought there were less fish coming in, I'd probably feed micros as well, but I'm more than happy to cut those out when there's a lot of fish in the peg. Laying the rig in, letting the FATBOY sink the float, then pulling it back up the slope till it's sat where I know it's on the bottom, and feeding quite accurately just behind it. And we're really stacking everything in our favour there to make sure that when one sucks in that little pile of bait, we're going to hook him in the mouth. So, your weekly fishing forecast, what's going to happen? To be honest folks, I think we're in for another belting weekend. The forecast I've seen says between 20 and 23 degrees depending where you are in the country, so some lovely, sunny, mild temperatures. Dropping a bit cooler at night now, which is no bad thing. It means it's a bit more pleasant when you go to sleep, isn't it? But at the end of the day, it's It's still perfect fishing weather. If you're going commercial fishing, as I've said for the last few weeks, the fish will definitely be up in the water. So shallow fishing, or if you've got cover like an island or sort of banking to fish up to, make sure you target that shallower water there. And of course, don't neglect the margins late on in the session. You can see how many fish are coming in here. It's lovely, to be fair. Be selective as well. You know, if you're after carp, don't be afraid to fish big baits this time of year, because everything will be feeding, so you'll have to get past those silverfish. Or of course, if you just fancy a really nice sort of relaxed day out, catching a bit of everything, don't be afraid to just fish one of our Fuka. Oh, there's a big old common right round the float there. Will he take it? Really is a matter of sitting on your hands with this, folks. There's a fish right next to the float. Just waiting for that to positively pull under. Yeah, so if you fancy a nice sort of day out catching a bit of everything, Fuka 5mm 2-in-1s, straight from the packet, you're going to catch some lovely silverfish and the carp and F1s as well. So everything's feeding. You can make of that what you will. Either be selective and fish for the carp, or take a bit of everything and have a nice day out. So what's happening on the... Oh, that one's another... Pulled the elastic out, that did. Really nice and positive. What's happening on the rivers? Well, we've had a bit of rain, haven't we? I mean, not enough to put any significant water in any of the major rivers, just because everything's been so low, but I definitely think a little bit of extra flow always seems to help. And again, you know, it's a brilliant time of year, whatever you're after. So if you're after some bigger fish, barbel and chub, with that bright weather, I'd try and pick my times. It'd be early morning or late evening if it's daytime fishing only, or if you can fish a couple of hours into darkness, even better. Again, big selective baits. The Fuka Carpos are brilliant this time of year. Or you might choose to fish a bit of everything, and the roach fishing, the silverfish fishing over the next few weeks will be about the best it is all year. So don't neglect that if you like a bit of stick float and waggler. And of course for them, you'll catch them through the day as well. So it might be that you do a bit of both. And finally, canals. Well, I never like going canal fishing when there's the height of summer and there's too many boats, especially on narrow canals, because I always think it can spoil the day in terms of a lot of activity and swims ruined by boats, etc. But that said, the canals have been fishing really, really well, and obviously not all canals have boat problems. So if you're heading out on the canal this weekend, you're going to catch a lot of fish. A lot of roach have been caught. Oh, that one was vicious. A lot of roach have been caught, some bigger skimmers feeding, and obviously in the areas where the big fish are, there's no reason why they won't feed as well. But again, I have to say it, I keep saying it, you're going to have to be selective. And early mornings, early evenings, sort of times when boat traffic isn't so heavy, might well be your best time to head out and have a go. So that's your weekly fishing forecast, folks. I hope you've picked up a few tips on how I approach shallow margins like this. It's always both exhilarating and frustrating when you can see a load of fish feeding, but this is one way of playing it safe and making sure your bait's pinned to the bottom. You don't foul hook anything. When you get a bite, it's a fish in the mouth. And I think that's about all you can really hope for. Targeted feeding, proper tackle so you land what you hook, and then it's just a case of being patient and waiting for a proper bite or the fish to hook itself, and you'll not go far wrong with these tactics. Have a lovely weekend wherever you're going, and I will see you next week.